Hello, guys. Welcome back. This is another episode of Ladies First. I'm your host, Amber Vickers. And last week, I didn't have time to do the show. I was out doing all kinds of things, but this week I'm back. Whew. Where do I start? Where do we start? I mean, there's just so many things that are happening in the sports world. I told you guys, if you're fans of the show, I have to keep up with so much that sometimes my shows run longer than I want them to run. And I try to keep it at 45 minutes, but I always end up going an hour and 5 minutes or something like that. But I'm going to work on condensing my show. It's going to be very difficult because I have topics I want to discuss, but I also have other shows that I do. I do Count the Bucket with Andrew Williams on Fridays. And then we're going to turn that into a podcast. I'm going to turn this show into a podcast as well. Step Back Sisterhood is a podcast on Blue Wire that I do. And then I have this show. And then I have Thunder Coast to Coast is a podcast that I do as well with Makana and Lori. So I have a lot that I do. So I try to talk about different topics on different shows. I don't like to repeat myself. I don't give you guys a lot of Thunder information on this show because I have a podcast dedicated to that. I don't talk a lot about the NBA because I have two podcasts that are dedicated to the NBA, which is Count the Bucket with Andrew Williams. And that podcast is going to expand into different things. Actually, I'm going to get on a phone call with Caleb after this, and we're going to discuss what we will be doing with Unwrap University moving forward, because that's when we're going to talk about college basketball, some G League stuff, international stuff, and things like that, because the G League is going to start their bubble in a couple of weeks, actually. And so I try to mix this show up. So, of course, the ladies come first. I talk about a women's topic first, women's topic last. And in the middle, I give you guys some NFL, some NCAA, some NBA news and things like that. But I try not to focus this show on one particular topic because I have other shows that I focus topics on. So basketball is a big topic that I talk about. I like to talk football as well. I've talked football with the fellas before. I'll talk a little bit about that on this show. But my main focus on this show is to touch on topics. I don't want to just expand because I have a lot of shows that do that. And I don't want it to be repetitive. So I usually reference something I've talked about. So say, for instance, if I say something about the Thunder on the show, then I'll probably reference it in my podcast with Lori and Makana and say, hey, I said this on my show. I try to keep it as diverse as possible on this show because this is my show. I can talk about what I want to talk about. I can pick the topics. On other shows, we have specific topics, whether it's just NBA talk, whether it's just Thunder talk. We have specific things that we want to talk about. But this show is a broad range of things, different sports. And if I want to talk football, I'll just say, hey guys, you guys want to talk football? Let's talk football. We've talked football on the show before. I had Garrett on. We talked football. I've talked only basketball with Nick. So I have certain times certain streams where I just talk football or I just talk basketball. But with this show, I like to mix it up. The ladies come first. I'm going to start having women guests to talk about women's sports. So there's probably going to be 3 or 4 shows in a row where all we're talking about is women's sports because this show is dedicated to the ladies. That's why it's called Ladies First. So I just want to get that out the way and let you guys know that this show is touching on different topics. I have other shows dedicated to just one topic and one topic only. And I try not to be repetitive. Okay, now that I've got all that out the way, all right, teespring.com/store/unwrapped. I'm going to show you guys some gear. Hold on just one second. I got an unwrapped t-shirt here in the gray, and I'll show you guys the back. And I have an unwrapped t-shirt here in the black, and here's the back. Okay. I've got my pants. I'm marketing right now. Perry would be proud. I got my unwrapped pants here. And then I've worn this a couple of times. I got my sweatshirt. Then I've got my unwrapped hoodie. You guys can see that. My unwrapped hoodie. Also, I have two unwrapped stickers on the back of my computer that you guys cannot see. My ladies first mug came in. I have that. It's dirty, but I'm going to show you my ladies first mug from Unwrapped Sports, of course, and my ladies first t-shirt that I'll be wearing every single show. I'll be drinking my water. This is not an advertisement for Aquafina, but I'll be drinking my water out of that mug every single show because I like to drink water during my shows. So guys, go get your gear. Go get your Unwrapped Sports Network gear at teespring.com/store/unwrapped. Also, if you like to gamble, mybookie.ag. A lot of betting going on. We will have some betting. I'm going to probably bring betting in on this show as well so you guys can understand how betting works because I have no clue how gambling works. I know the stock market just had an incident today. So I don't get into that too much, but that's not really gambling, but it is kind of gambling with your money, but it's not quite the same. But Alex and Corey do Bets Unwrapped. They do a great job of that on Saturdays. They used to be on Fridays. Now they're on Saturdays. So Bets Unwrapped with Alex and Corey. I'll probably try to bring both of those guys on this show or one of those guys on this show to get your betting needs out. We're going to do that on Count the Bucket. We're going to incorporate NBA bets on there. But if they come on ladies first, then they'll talk about bets across the board. They bet on everything. Every single thing, player props and all of that. I'm learning the lingo for the betting. So that's mybookie.ag. Use the code USN100 and get 100% off. Well, actually, double your first deposit. Not 100% off your order, but double your first deposit up to $1,000. Unwrap these bands. They will be going live. I think they're going to go live for the Super Bowl. I think. I will talk about it now. LOL. Corey said I'll talk about it now. Corey, I'm going to get you on. I got a lot of things to talk about tonight. Corey, we will get in the chat and I will get you on the show so you guys can talk about betting because I want to dedicate that show to betting. Christian Wood and Cancer are about to give me some money. Corey, you're always winning money. You're always winning money. How's the economy in Australia? Guys, Corey is currently living in Australia. So he and Alex, they do a great job of that Bets Unwrapped. Also, Unwrap These Bands. I wonder if Unwrap These Bands is going to go live for the Super Bowl. They went live for the NFC Championship game, and I believe the AFC Championship game. They went live. So I wonder if that's going to happen. I'm going to ask Caleb that tonight when I talk to him. But Corey, we're going to have a show dedicated to betting only. Betting only, because I want you to fill my listeners in on how to bet and how to win money. That would be awesome to do, Corey. I appreciate you tuning in as always. So with all that being said, I have RX Hemp, rxhemp.com. Use the code RXHemp/USN and get 10% off of your order. It's cold outside. It snowed in Vegas. We talked about that in the live chat. Since when does it snow in Vegas? It didn't stick, of course, but it snowed in Vegas. I mean, what is happening? It was 50 degrees in LA and rainy, that according to Perry, and now it's snowing in Vegas. I don't know what the heck is going on with our climate, but where I'm from, it's still a little chilly, so your muscles get sore, you get achy. Get you some CBD cream at rxhemp.com and use that code rxhemp/USN to get 10% off of your order. I feel like I've said a mouthful, and I've been on this show for almost 10 minutes, and I haven't talked about one topic. But these are some things I need to get out. Of course, I have to promo, pay the bills, and I wanted to get out why I talk about certain topics on my show and other shows that I have. That's why I don't talk about those topics, because I don't like repeating myself, if that makes sense. I wrote down a list of things we're going to talk about today, and I'm going to try to keep this at an hour. I really am, guys. I'm going to try to keep the show at an hour. Now, I have a hard time with time management when it comes to my show, because I'll talk about a topic and I'll get all excited about it, or, something exciting is going on because I have my iPad right next to me, and I was watching Arkansas and UConn go at it. Then I was watching Dame and the Houston Rockets go at it because Dame was putting on a show in the first quarter. Then you have South Carolina and Mississippi State going at it right now on ESPN. ESPN2 had Arkansas and UConn. I will talk about that. It's a lot going on, guys. It is a lot going on, and I get so excited talking about these things. But, of course, we're going to start the topics off with the women's subject, and that would be WNBA free agency. Now, there was a bomb dropped, and I thought it might happen because I don't think her and Derek Fisher get along very well. But Candace Parker's going home. She is signing with the Chicago Sky. I don't think the details have come out yet about the years and things like that, but she has moved on from the Los Angeles Sparks. That's going to be hard for some of you to process, okay? Especially if you've been watching Candace since she was a freshman at Tennessee when she played for the late, great Pat Summitt. Rest in peace, Pat Summitt. Their team is playing very well right now, too. And you have to kind of gather yourself and look at Candace Parker in a different uniform. I mean, she's going home. She's going home playing Chicago. I think she's from Naperville of Illinois, which is very close to Chicago. So why not? I mean, why not? But that lineup in Chicago, title contenders, I think so. They will be title contenders. But Candace Parker moving on from the Sparks after 13 years, WNBA Finals MVP, Rookie of the Year. So many accolades I can go through with Candace Parker, but she's moving on. Also, someone moving on from the LA Sparks, Chelsea Gray. Chelsea Gray is signing with the Las Vegas Aces. Yes, the reason why she's signing with them is because they lost Kayla McBride to the Minnesota Lynx. So Kayla McBride is moving on to the Minnesota Lynx. Chelsea Gray is now going to the Las Vegas Aces. And Nneka Ogwumike has signed an extension with the Los Angeles Sparks. A lot of movement there in Los Angeles, a lot of movement. I wonder, this is my biggest wonder, if Simone Augustus will stay with the Sparks. I'm really wondering if she will retire or will she stay with the Sparks. She signed last year. She left Minnesota after all those years, 4 championships with Minnesota, kind of got that franchise off the ground. She really did. She was at the forefront of that. Maya Moore, Rebecca Brunson. I can go on and on and on. Lindsay Whalen, who is now coaching for the University of Minnesota women's basketball team. She did a lot for the Minnesota Lynx, and she went on to the Sparks. It was weird seeing her in a different uniform. And I was like, okay, she's in a different uniform. I'm going to have to get used to this. Candace Parker being in a Chicago Sky uniform, even though that's home for her, will be very odd. And I'm ready for it. I'm embracing the change. Chelsea Gray being in a Las Vegas Aces uniform, I am embracing the change. Kayla McBride being in a Minnesota Lynx uniform, I'm embracing the change. So there's some movement around the WNBA. There's a lot of movement. I have some more movement because I have to keep up with everything. Liz Cambage, we don't know if Liz Cambage is going to play this season. I think she's a free agent, if I'm not mistaken. She is a free agent. She played for Las Vegas Aces. We don't know if she's going to play this year. And that's very interesting to see if she does. Diana Taurasi, will she stay in Phoenix? Now, if she changes uniforms, I'm going to lose my mind if Diana Taurasi changes uniforms, because that will be weird for me as well. We already had Simone Augustus changing uniforms. We have Candace Parker changing uniforms. Diana Taurasi, if DT changes uniforms, who is one of probably my top 3 WNBA players, Candace Parker is my top 3 WNBA players of all time thus far. If she changes uniforms, it will blow my mind. I think that is something that I am not looking forward to, but if her and Phoenix can't reach some type of agreement, it's a business. I understand. That makes sense. Alicia Gray. There's a lot of talk about Alicia Gray, but I think she did agree. Let me go back to my timeline, guys, because there was a lot going on that I had to keep up with. And I wanted to make sure that I kept up with everything. Come on, refresh. There we go. All right. Let's see if she did. Come on, timeline. I retweeted so much today. So much. I'm going to talk about her. Yeah, Aerial Powers. Aerial Powers. Yeah, I did. She's in talks with Minnesota. So right now she's in talks with Minnesota. This was 9 hours ago. She's unlikely to be back with the Washington Mystics. She won that championship there in 2000. So 2020 champs was Seattle. I have to remember this. 2019 champs was Washington Mystics because their baseball team won it the same year. Okay, yes. She won a championship in 2019. All these seasons are running together because they took breaks and had bubbles and things like that. So they won it in 2019. She was a key contributor for that team in 2019. It's talks that she will probably be with Minnesota. Minnesota's reloading. Maya Moore, I think she's found her purpose outside of basketball. I talked about that on my show 2 weeks ago. Her and Kyrie finding their purposes outside of sports. Colin Kaepernick's the same way. Let's see what else we got. Who else? Chelsea Gray, Las Vegas Aces. I said that. Liz Cambage, will she play this season? Will she not? Because then it's saying, well, hold on. She was in talks. Okay, she was supposed to, Alicia Gray has verbally agreed to a multi-year deal to resign with Dallas. So I think Alicia Gray is going to resign with Dallas. I'm going to make sure this is true, first of all. Let's see. Bettina Laney, she won Sixth Man of the Year. I think she signed with New York. Yeah, she signed with the New York Liberty. So Bettina, I hope I'm saying her name right. Laney signed with the New York Liberty. That's the one that I was missing. I was like, I know that I'm missing one, and I have to make sure that I get everybody. But it's going to be a lot of movement going on in the WNBA. They already have Candace Parker coming home T-shirts. I'm probably going to give me one. I already have one. I already have a Candace Parker T-shirt when she was in LA, of course. I have a Donna Taurasi T-shirt. She's in Phoenix. You got to keep those. Those are mementos. Those just kind of hit close to home. But Aerial Powers, I think she is going to sign with Minnesota because she said, "What's up at Minnesota Lynx fans? Let's get another championship, baby." So I think she's reached a deal with them. I think. And Jasmine Thomas has agreed to terms of a multi-year deal to return to Connecticut Sun. I watched her a lot in college. She played for Duke, really quick guard, can get to the hole at any time. Let's see. Goodness. Okay, I think I've reached everybody thus far. I have Alicia Clark, great defender for the Seattle Storm. She just won a title. She has agreed to the Washington. They are close to a verbal agreement with the Washington Mystics. Alicia Clark is. So I love watching her play too. Gritty defender, can knock down shots. She's one of those basketball players that everybody needs on the team. I really enjoy watching her play for the Seattle Storm last year and winning the title. So it looks like Coach Reeve is making moves. She's making moves. The Washington Mystics, they're making moves as well. Can Seattle repeat? That's going to be tough because Minnesota's made moves. LA has lost some firepower. Dallas, they got a good resign. But Washington and Minnesota are making moves. And I think Chicago got better because you got Vandersloot starting. You got Shields. And then you have Parker. Those three would be hard to stop. That pick and roll with Vandersloot and Parker is going to be nasty. I'm just going to say that off top. That is going to be ridiculously nasty to watch. I can't wait. I really can't. Brittany Sykes, really quick athletic guard for the guard / forward, I guess you can say, for the Los Angeles Sparks, has agreed to a multi-year deal to return. Goodness, so much, guys, so much. But it's a lot. It's a lot going on. Oh, that's who they got. Cheyenne Parker has verbally agreed to sign with the Atlanta Dream. So Atlanta is stacked. Wait a minute. You got Courtney Williams, hmm, Kennedy Carter. Yeah, they're stacked. they're stacked. They are going to be good next year as well. They have a lot of guards though. They're very guard heavy in Atlanta. But those are the WNBA free agency signings so far. I will go through these again because there'll be more movement this week. I've never been so excited about the WNBA free agency. I've never been so excited. I think social media helps with that. I'm going to talk about that. That's going to actually be my last topic um, of the night is social media in women's sports. I'm going to talk about those two topics. But I'm moving on from WNBA free agency. I'm going to talk about the NCAA just briefly because it's already 20 minutes into the show. Briefly, women's and men's. On the women's side, we had an upset. UConn went down against Arkansas. Chelsea Dungy had a game. She had a game. she had a game, and she played her tail off, and it was beautiful to watch. What can I say? They won 90-87, high scoring affair. Chelsea Dungy had 37. She had 37 points, 13 for 21 from the field, 4 from 5 from the 3-point line, 7 from 10 from the free throw line. Ramirez, she hit a deep, long three. She was 8 for 6, 5 from 10 from the 3-point line, 1 for 2 from the free throw line. She had 22. So Paige went off, of course. She had 27. I think she has now surpassed Breanna Stewart as through 11 games, the highest scoring freshman in UConn history. WNBA agency is going crazy. It really is. And I was trying to keep up with everything on it on my timeline. Caleb, thank you for watching and commenting. It's a lot. It's a lot. There's not very many teams, but the WNBA is ran differently than the NBA and ran a lot differently than the NBA. So it's not very difficult to keep up with, but at times it is. And I try my best. Like I said, next week when I come on here, I'm going to give you more information because there will be more movement. But WNBA free agency is crazy. And I appreciate social media because I follow a lot of women that write for the WNBA, that commentate on the WNBA, and that are in women's sports in general. So that helps me out a lot because without social media, guys, I'm going to get into that. I don't want to talk about that too much, but I appreciate social media for helping me out with this free agency with any league. And Paige went off. She had 27. Now, as I was saying, she, I think, is now past Breanna Stewart most points by a freshman in UConn history through 11 games because this is their 11th game. I think I'm reading that correctly on the screen. So she went off, but UConn's 10-1, 3-1 away. Arkansas is 12-6, 8-1 at home. Arkansas has some tough losses this season. I've talked about it before on my show. You do not want to play Arkansas. They have 6 losses, but you do not want to play Arkansas. I am a firm believer of you not want to play Arkansas. Also, another upset. I love these upsets. I know when I first started talking about women's college basketball, I said it's not paired correctly. Like in the men's game, it's a little bit more paired. You don't really necessarily call them upsets, but you see big teams go down to smaller schools. I said in the women's game, you really don't see that. But this is conference play, guys. This is conference play. So it's a little different. But then that same week and the week, you saw smaller schools beat bigger schools. And I was like, man, I just ate my words. At that point, I'm like, goodness, guys, I just ate my words because I just said it doesn't happen. And boom, it happens. So I'm not going to say anything else about that, guys. We're just going to say that anything can happen on any given night. That's what we're going to say. So NC State goes down to Virginia Tech by double digits. Virginia Tech wins that game 83-71. They're 3-7 in the conference. They're 8-7 overall. This is NC State's first loss. NC State. So that's an upset. It's in conference. It's not to a smaller school, but it's an upset. It's an upset. And It went into OT and they lost by double digits. So that means they just ran out of gas. Oh, there was a lot of scoring in OT. Virginia Tech scored 26 points in overtime. In an overtime, you scored 26 points in 5 minutes. There was no defense being played in overtime. They must have ran out of gas. NC State only scored 14 points. Yeah, they ran out of gas. That had to have been the case, because when you scored 26 points in 5 minutes, did I read that right? 20 plus points in 5 minutes in the OT game, and the other team only scores 14, they ran out of gas. Other action today, we had Michigan State. Maryland blew them out by 40, 52-92. Goodness. Northwestern beats Iowa. Sorry, Garrett. Northwestern beats Iowa 87-80. Kentucky beats Bama 81-68. Texas A&M and Auburn will be playing. Gonzaga and Pacific will be playing. We have North Carolina playing Louisville. Louisville's number 1 team in the country. NC State was number 2. North Carolina is currently winning that game. Louisville's winning that game 38-20. LSU and Georgia in a tight one, 42-41. Stanford and Arizona play on. Nope, sorry, that's men's games. Sorry. My screen changed. What to say? Stanford hasn't lost 5 games. They've been upset, but they haven't lost 5 games. The team I really want to talk about a little bit is Tennessee. Ole Miss and Tennessee are in action right now on SEC Network Plus. There's so many channels now, guys, but they're on SEC Network Plus in the 4th quarter right now, midway through the 4th, and Tennessee holds a 3-point lead against Ole Miss. Tennessee played UConn, and I want to talk about that game a little bit. That game, Gino and Pat, that game has been around for years. And they want to keep that rivalry game alive. So I'm happy that they got to play. UConn pulled their game out. Tennessee played them tough. Played them very, 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 very tough. Lost by 6. Tennessee is a team that I would not want to play either. Like I said before, I've mentioned this before, the SEC for women's basketball is the best conference, in my opinion. In the men's, I think it's the Big Ten. I'll talk about that in a minute. But Tennessee had a tough loss to Georgia on that Thursday. I talked about that 2 weeks ago. They lost by 1. Tennessee beat LSU by 1 that Sunday. Tennessee beat Arkansas on Thursday the 7th by 15. They turn around, they beat Bama on the 17th, which was a Sunday, 82-56. Lost to 60 UConn at home. Beat Kentucky 53-70. Right now, they're in a tie ball game with Ole Miss, and then they have Florida next. So Tennessee is one of those teams that you don't want to play either. Arkansas and Tennessee, the SEC is stacked. They have very, very good quality teams in the SEC. Like I said, best conference in college basketball for the women's side, in my opinion. All right, guys, let's move on to the men's side of things. I tweeted this. Has anybody seen what Baylor is doing to the Big 12? Baylor men's basketball team is doing to the Big 12. It's not even close. I turned on the Baylor and Kansas State game, and they were winning a game 43-8 at one point. I just don't. It's been very. Yeah, they won that game 107-59, and they are running through the Big 12. They are. I have to say Gonzaga is the best team in the country. On the women's side, I really don't know because Stanford's lost a couple games right now. Louisville is the best team in the country right now. South Carolina is pulling away from Mississippi State. I like South Carolina a lot. NC State goes down. Like I said before, Stanford lost a couple of games. So those are the top dogs. I think in the men's game, it's more separated. I think it's Baylor, probably Villanova, and everybody else. In the women's game, it's a little bit more bunched at the top. I can give you probably 6 or 7 teams. You throw Texas A&M in there. I probably can, or in UCLA because they upset Stanford. I could probably give you 6 or 7 teams that I can say, okay, they're the best team in the country. Even with one loss, you can still put UConn in there. In the men's game, I say it's Gonzaga, Baylor, Villanova, everybody else. Because the way Gonzaga is playing is unbelievable. They can score the basketball. They get defensive stops when they need to. I like Kispert. I like Suggs. I like their team. Baylor, Scott Drew, they're D'ing up. They're playing defense with those guards, Butler and Teague and Vital. And he can guard multiple positions. They present a different problem. Texas Tech D's up as well, but they got Mac McClung to transfer from Georgetown, and he can score. Kansas presents different problems as well. Neither one of those teams beat Baylor. So a reason why I tell you guys this is Baylor is putting people on notice in the Big 12, and I pay attention to Big 12 basketball the most because the University of Oklahoma plays in the Big 12. They upset Texas, and they're playing very well right now as well. They also beat Kansas. They lost to Baylor, of course. But I think they'll get in the NCAA tournament. I really do because they're playing very well right now. Shout out to Lon Kruger. But Baylor is doing something in the Big 12, and I think that Scott Drew is turning the tables because when you think Big 12 basketball, you think Kansas. When you think Big 12 football, you think Oklahoma. It's just what it is. I'm not saying that because I'm a University of Oklahoma graduate and I'm a fan. I'm saying that because it's true. Basketball, Kansas, football, OU. Now basketball, you're thinking, okay, Baylor. Baylor went on that hot winning streak last year, and I thought they were going to be a Final Four team last year, before COVID. And I think they took that momentum when Jared Butler decided to come back to school, and I'm happy he decided to come back. Maseo Teague also decided to come back to school, and they said, okay, let's run this back. You got Vital, got a couple of transfers in there. Let's run this back. Let's see if we can win an NCAA title. Get Scott Drew an NCAA title. And I think they could. I think there are three teams. Well, the NCAA tournament is such a toss-up. But my three favorites right now would be Villanova, Gonzaga, and Baylor in the men's game, on the men's side. And the women's side, like I said, I could toss 7 teams in a pot, and I don't know which ones. But the men's side, they've kind of separated themselves. They have really separated themselves from the rest of the country. Now, you can say, well, you could put Kansas in there. Say, okay. Michigan went on a crazy winning streak where they were blowing teams out of the Big Ten. Okay. Iowa, you could put Iowa in there. Iowa's played very well. They've had a couple of losses. Okay. But as far as I'm concerned, those top teams are those top teams. Thank you, Connie. I appreciate the comment. Those top teams are those top teams as far as I'm concerned. Gonzaga, no losses. Baylor, no losses. Villanova has 1 loss. Michigan has 1 loss. Texas, 2 losses. Houston, 1 loss. Iowa, 3 losses. Virginia, 2 losses. Alabama is my surprise team this year. Nobody saw Alabama coming. They're going to be a scary, dangerous team in the SEC. They have 3 losses. Texas Tech has 4. West Virginia has 4. OU beat West Virginia, by the way. Missouri is a pleasant surprise. They have 2. So I'm just looking at this, guys. Just looking at the schedule. Tennessee kind of fell off a little bit. They have 3 losses, but I wouldn't want to play Tennessee either. University of Oklahoma is ranked now. They have 4 losses. So shout out to OU. But those 3 teams, in my opinion, and you probably can throw Michigan in there with the way they've been playing. But the cream of the crop, the 2 teams that I wouldn't say bet my money on. Darn it, Corey and Alex, I wouldn't bet my money on it because the NCAA tournament is something else. I'll put it to you like this. I would probably put money on those 2 teams winning their conferences. The West Coast Conference for Gonzaga and the Big 12 for Baylor. Put my money on those 2 teams winning their conference tournaments. If we have a conference tournament, I will probably put my money on those 2 teams. Gonzaga in the West Coast Conference and Baylor in the Big 12. Michigan winning the Big 10, we don't know. Big 10 is a juggernaut. I can't put my money on that. Villanova winning the Big East. I could probably put my money on that. Probably. They've had a couple of games that have been postponed. I could probably put my money on that. Texas beating Baylor, not putting my money on that. I think Baylor's just the best team in that conference. I think they're one of the best teams in the country. Yeah, that's what I'll say. I'll say that. I will say that. Um, I'm very happy and pleased with the way that Baylor's been playing, and they are playing defense. They play defense. Scoring 107 points against Kansas State, nobody would have saw that coming. From Gonzaga, yes, because Gonzaga has a lot of guys that can score a lot of points. Baylor, you have guys that can score, but not the high clip that Gonzaga guys can score. They play defense, so they locked up. Like I said, I was watching the Kansas State game, and at one point it was 43-8, and I said, "What in the Schneizers is going on here?" Right now, TCU and Kansas are playing in Allen Fieldhouse at Kansas, and TCU is on top by 4 points. You have Houston, who's a surprise team. Shout out to Kelvin Sampson. They're playing Tulane tonight. Gonzaga plays San Diego. This is a game that Gonzaga would lose against San Diego. They're 2-6. That's a game Gonzaga would slip up and lose. I don't see it happen. But, you always have those slip-ups every now and then. And then Stanford plays Arizona on ESPN2. So, guys, that's it for men's college basketball. Of course, women's college basketball. I want to touch a little bit on the transfer portal that's been happening. You've been seeing a lot of transfers. A lot of guys have been transferring out. I'm going to give you an example. I retweeted it. Let me go to it, guys. Ooh, I'm not going to be able to find it like that. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to find all this transfer information that I had on my timeline. Did I take a picture of it? I did not take a picture of it. Oh boy, guys, bear with me. Bear with me. It's a lot of stuff on my timeline. But was it RJ Young? I gotta follow RJ Young. Okay. It is RJ Young. He talked about the transfer portal just in the Big 12. Just in the Big 12. OU's got some Tennessee transfers. So Josh Heupel was hired as a Tennessee head coach. He used to play quarterback at the University of Oklahoma. He also used to be an assistant coach at the University of Oklahoma. He was a coach at UCF. UCF has been balling since he became coach. I think he was 38-8, or something like that. 38-9, 38-8. But they've been playing well. I think it's a great hire for Tennessee. Tennessee needs to restructure that whole department. Guys know they got caught with the money in the McDonald's bags, giving them to recruits. They all do it. It's just if you get caught or not. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. But I want to see. I know he has the transfers on here. Why didn't I take a picture of it? Yes, Josh Heupel becoming Tennessee Vols head coach. Tate Martell, he transferred again. He's transferred once again. I think it's his third school, if I'm not mistaken. His top transfers are Xavier Alford. He was safety at Texas. He's going to USC. Charlie Brewer was a quarterback at Baylor. He's going to Utah. Utah's going to be good. They got another OU transfer. TJ Pledger, actually, the running back from OU, transferred to Utah. Mookie Cooper, wide receiver from Ohio State, transferred to Missouri. Ty Chandler, running back from Tennessee, transferred to UNC. And Charleston Rambo, I'm going to miss you, Charleston. I really am. I'm going to miss you so much. He's going from OU to Miami, so he gets Derek King to catch the ball from. That's going to be pretty good. That's going to be a pretty deadly combo. Also, we had Jaquindon Jackson, Texas quarterback. He's going to Utah now. I talked about TJ Pledger. Texas running back Keontae Ingram makes sense. He's transferring to USC. OU tight end Jalen Conyers is going to Arizona State. And then OU safety Robert Barnes is going to Colorado. So that's some of the Big 12 transfers. OU, Texas, and Baylor. All those transfers. But Tennessee, OU got Eric Gray, running back from Tennessee, their top rusher last year. He is now at the University of Oklahoma. So the backfield at OU looks like this. Kennedy Brooks, he's going to come back and play. Kennedy Brooks, Eric Gray, Ramondre Stevenson has moved on. McGowan, Mikey Henderson. I'm just naming some guys I can name off the top of my head. TJ Pledger transferred. McGowan was a freshman last year. That's it. Well, there's probably some more, but you're probably going to have that 1-2 punch with Gray and Kennedy Brooks. I like it. McGowan, you can bring him in. He's going to be a sophomore, and then you can bring in Mikey Henderson as well. He's going to be a sophomore, I believe, as well. So you can bring those guys in. OU's backfield looks great. We got the leading rusher from Tennessee, and then we have our leading rusher coming back from 2 seasons ago. Ramondre decides to move on. I think Ramondre is going to be great in the NFL. I wish him nothing but success. OU's season would be different if he played in those games at the beginning, but we can't cry over spilled milk. We did win the Cotton Bowl. So yeah, that transfer portal is something that I think players are taking advantage of with not having to sit out the season due to COVID to put themselves in better situations, because that Tennessee thing is a debacle. Yes, Josh Heupel has come in. He's from OU. He's from that OU branch. He played at OU, but he's not going to be able to change things overnight. Their quarterback situation in Tennessee is just so confusing. So why not go play for a guy that can get you ready for the NFL? And Lincoln Riley, you're going to play in a pro-style offense. You're going to score a lot of points. You're going to touch the ball a lot, and he's going to use you in multiple ways. Why not? Eric Gray, you led Tennessee in rushing, I think, and receiving, if I'm not mistaken. But you were the best player they had last year, and it's not working out. Why not? OU lost Ramondre Stevenson. Now, I think if Ramondre was stayed, Eric would not transfer because it would not make sense to be the third guy. But you're the second guy. You might be the first guy. I don't know what Kennedy Brooks is going to do. He said he's coming back to play, which makes sense. He set out this year due to COVID. Hopefully, COVID is under control by September, but who knows, guys? We don't know. No one knows, honestly, and that's the sad part. All right, that's enough about the transfer portal. The NFC Championship game and the AFC Championship game. I enjoyed watching both games. My picks held true. I had the Buccaneers beating the Packers, and I also had the Kansas City Chiefs beating the Buffalo Bills. Even though no one circles the wagon like the Buffalo Bills, in my Chris Berman voice, but I did have Patrick Mahomes being too much for the Buffalo Bills. And I had Tom Brady being Tom Brady, and also relying on Aaron Rodgers' team not to help him win a football game. Mr. King, it just didn't look good. Tom Brady just said, okay, whoever King is on, that's who I'm throwing the ball to. Tom Brady knows matchups. He studies a lot of film. He knows what to do in every situation. Aaron Rodgers does as well. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense played a heck of a game. They were flying. Their defensive line was flying all over the field, in the backfield, hitting Aaron Rodgers, making him uncomfortable, making him indecisive. I think Aaron Rodgers could have ran for that touchdown. But no, he throws an incomplete pass in a key moment of the game. That defense is playing. Also, shout out to all the black coordinators on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. Shout out to you. I just want to say that I think that those coordinators do a great job of getting their teams ready for games. I think they're underappreciated, as we see. The Kansas City offensive coordinator has still not been hired yet. They have the best offense in the league. But that could be another topic for another day. I think I'm going to talk about Black coaches and their representation in the NFL. African Americans, period, and their representation in the NFL. I'm going to discuss that. That will be a long topic. But shout out to Tom Brady. Shout out to Patrick Mahomes. We get the passing of the torch Super Bowl. We get Mr. Tom with 6 rings. We get the $500 million man. Hold on. Wait a minute. The $500 million man and Patrick Mahomes and a Super Bowl champion. Can they repeat? These are the last two Super Bowl champs, by the way, guys. Can Patrick Mahomes repeat? Can Tom Brady get his seventh? Who knows? I'm excited to see it. I am very, very excited. Two Black offensive coordinators going at it. Got Byron Leftwich. He is the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And you got Eric Bieniemy. He is the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs. This is going to be exciting. I cannot wait to watch that game. All right. Let's get into All-Star selections. I believe that voting started on Tuesday. Yes, I think it started on Tuesday. Voting for All-Star has started, I believe, if I'm thinking right, because I've seen a lot of different All-Star lineups floating around Twitter. And there are two guys that I think are going to be captains. I think LeBron's going to be captain in the West. I think Kevin Durant's going to be captain in the East. Now, you get to pick your teams now. Now you get to pick your teams. They get to pick their starters, but now you get to pick your own teams. So it's just like pickup style, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It makes it more competitive. Shout out to Adam Silver for adding that little entity into the All-Star game. So my teams, I don't know. Okay, Kevin Durant, LeBron James are going to start. Boom. We already know that. I don't know who they're going to pick. I'm just going to tell you starters from each conference, even though they won't be the same because you mix conferences now. For the West, starters for the West. They won't be on LeBron's team, but these are just starters for the West. I got the Joker. I got LeBron. That 3 spot, it could either be, for me, 2 teammates. Either it's going to be Kawhi Leonard or it's going to be Paul George. I'm not sure which one. I'm going to say Kawhi/Paul George. This is where it gets dicey. At that 1 and 2 spot, I have 3 guys they can pick from. Dame, who is right now torching the Houston Rockets. It could either be Dame, Steph, or Luka. Dallas is on a bad losing streak. Dallas is not playing well right now, but that doesn't matter when you're voting for All-Star. I think if CJ McCollum was still playing, I think he would be in that conversation. It's going to be two of those 3 guys for that 1-2 spot. I don't know who, but it's a toss-up between Luka, Steph, and Dame. That's the West. The East, I have Kevin Durant, Giannis, and Joel Embiid. Now, the starting 2 guard, in my opinion, should be Bradley Beal, even though the Wizards are not playing well, but Bradley Beal can't help who the Wizards put out in the court, and he's playing excellent. He leads the NBA in scoring, by the way. 2 of your top 3 scorers are in the East, or all 3 top scorers in the East. 2 of your top 3 in the East, in Beal and Durant. So those are my 4. The point guard position is where it gets dicey. Because I want to put Kyrie there, but I don't think he's played enough games. I want to put James Harden there, but he just got to Brooklyn. What other point guard in the East can I put in that position? I'm going down the teams. I'm going down. New York, no. Chicago. Zach LaVine. Could you put Zach LaVine at that point? Can he get enough votes to be an all-star starter? I hope so. He's going to be an all-star. I know that. But can he get enough votes? Can he get the votes he needs to be an all-star starter? Because Zach LaVine would probably be my choice at that point guard position, even though he kind of plays that shooting guard / point guard position. You think about all the point guards in the East. He's playing the best. If you want to call him a point guard. Kyrie hasn't played enough games, so I would put Kyrie there. Not Kevin Harden. James Harden just got to Brooklyn, or I would put him there. I'm trying to think, guys. Kemba just got there. Kyle Lowry's been in and out for Toronto. The Bucks, Drew Holiday, he might make an all-star. He might. Ben Simmons hasn't had a strong season numbers wise, but he might be an all-star as well. So if I had my choice to put there at that point guard spot, it would probably be Zach LaVine. Kyrie just has not played enough games for me. He set out, I think, 4 or 5 games. Harden just got to Brooklyn, so I don't want to put him there. It might be Zach LaVine, but it could be Zach LaVine, it could be James Harden, it could be Kyrie Irving. Those are the three that I think will probably get those votes to be a starter. Now, here's another thing that I was conflicted with is Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Both will be all-stars. Jaylen Brown is having a career year. Most improved player, he probably will be. Bam is another guy I was conflicted with, but he's not going to get more votes than Kevin Durant. He's not going to get more votes than Joel Embiid, which 2 of those guys are in your MVP conversation. And he's not going to get the votes for Giannis that Giannis has. So Bam will be an all-star. Sabonis will be an all-star as well, but he just won't get those votes to be one of those starters. And then Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown could be a starter. If Kevin Durant was not in the East, Jaylen Brown started that 3 spot. I'm just almost sure of it. They might vote him in at that 2 spot, or they might vote Bradley Beal in, and Jaylen Brown gets that 2 spot, and you'll have Jaylen Brown, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant. That's a lot of length on defense. Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Whew, but that won't be a team because, of course, you get to vote East or West. If you're Kevin Durant, who I think will be the captain in the East, and LeBron James will be the captain in the West. That's going to be interesting. But that starting lineup could look like that. I mean, those starter votes could look like that. It could be Jaylen Brown, Beal, Durant, Giannis, and Embiid. In the West, it's pretty clear cut. I just think those 3 guys are fighting for 2 spots in Luka, Steph, and Dame. And then LeBron, toss up between Kawhi and Paul George. And then you'll have the Joker and then Anthony Davis to be an all-star. Probably Rudy Gobert. And then maybe Devin Booker. I'm not sure. You'll have D-Book. I think if Porzingis was fully healthy this season, he could have been an all-star. You'll have Jamal Murray. You will have Donovan Mitchell. So the West, the starters in the West, you got it. You just have 2 positions that you don't know. But in the East, it's a lot to think about because Zach LaVine will be an all-star. Does he start? Sabonis won't get the votes. Bam won't get the votes either. Not over Giannis or Joel Embiid. So you have to think about that. But my all-star selections, that's who I think the starters will be for each conference. Excuse me, a little confusion on that, but that's going to be tough. I'm probably going to vote Shea in for an all-star because he's played very well for OKC. So I will be voting Shea in. I'm Team Shea. I'll be voting for him for all-star. Thunder up, by the way. And yeah, hopefully he makes it in. I don't know if he will because that guard spot is very competitive in the West. But I can definitely see him being a future all-star. Leads OKC in scoring. OKC's playing very well. They beat Phoenix last night, beat Portland the night before that. They did have a 3-game losing streak. They lost 2. The game against Philly got canceled, but they lost to Denver and the Clippers back-to-back. Clippers are playing very well, even though the Clippers lost to Atlanta, but the Clippers only had, I think, 8 or 9 players. They didn't have their full horses. So, guys, this is bad. This is bad. Trae Young. What? Okay, here are my all-star starters for the East, guys. And I'm like, what did Atlanta? They played, oh my goodness, guys. I did all that talking about Zach LaVine. It's going to probably be Trae Young, Bradley. This will be my 5. Trae Young, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, Giannis, and Joel. That would be my 5 in the East. Okay, now it's clear now. It's clear. Now, this could get dicey with Jaylen Brown and Zach LaVine. You could throw those guys in the starting lineup. I would be happy for that. But I think Trae Young might get the votes this year to be a starter. He was an all-star last year. He might get the votes this year to be a starter. He just might. Atlanta's playing well. They beat the Clippers, but they did lose the other night. So Trae Young's playing well. He's scoring the ball at a high clip, and he will probably be a starter, especially if they were able to have an All-Star game. They've been in talks about having an All-Star game in Atlanta, but if they're able to have an All-Star game in Atlanta, Trae Young is going to get those votes to be a starter. I will guarantee it. And he will be probably one of those top picks off the board as well for either either Kevin Durant, who I think is going to be a captain, or LeBron, who I think is going to be a captain in the West. How do I feel about Trae Young, guys? I am so sorry. Trae, I'm sorry. I apologize. Ice Young, I really, really do. His new Adidas, by the way, are very nice. Okay, guys, that's it for the show. I have one more topic. Of course, I want to talk about women's impact on social media and sports. I can't say enough about it because without that impact, I wouldn't be able to give you this live show. I would not be a part of the Unwrapped Sports Network. There wouldn't be such an impact on social justice. They did a great job. Women's sports did a great job. The social justice movement. Social media has become everybody's go-to. Twitter is the best social media app by far because if you want to know anything that's going on, I get on my timeline right now. If I want to know anything that's going on, I'll just get on Twitter. I'm looking at myself right now talking. Honestly, I'm looking at LeBron just shoot. I'm looking at the Robinhood app that people are talking about. Tom Brady is getting interviewed. The Super Bowl is getting interviewed. Kendrick Perkins gives us his all-star early votes. He has Kyrie, Jaylen Brown, by the way, Giannis, Kevin Durant, and Joel. In the East, in the West, he has Dame, Steph, LeBron, Paul George, and the Joker. So that's what I get. I have Alex on here. He has a cute little meme talking about stocks. Lincoln Riley in a car pulling up to Knoxville. So there's so much on social media. The impact has been just so great. I can get on there and look at WBA free agency. I can talk women's basketball with people, women's sports with people. I can interact with others who have the same passion about women's sports that I do. And the impact that it's had on not just sports, but just life in general. Sports has been everyone's getaway. It's my getaway from what's going on in the world, but we could not get away from certain things in 2020. We haven't been able to get away from things in the past 4 years. I'm not going to get political. We haven't been able to get away from things in the past 4 years. Okay, let's just be honest. But in 2020, that was the roughest year, I think, for a lot of people, financially, mentally, emotionally, everything, physically, mentally, just everything. It was just so tough for people. And you wanted to see sports and you wanted to see it come back, but we want it to be a safe space as well for the athletes. And women's impact on that was great. The women's impact on election was great. I don't get into politics on my show. I'm just going to say that. So women's impact on sports has been great all the way around. The Atlanta Dream basically voted off their owner, governor. I don't like to call them owners. So just, the lady that ran the team, they voted her out. That was impact from the WNBA. They had a huge impact on that part of the social justice movement. They did a great job with that. You got to see so many voices being heard and so many things being done. The WNBA hoodie became a thing. I have mine in my closet. I have yet to wear it because I don't go anywhere. But I'll be wearing that. I will probably wear it on the show when I have a women's guest. When I have a woman that will be my guest on my show. I cannot talk tonight. I say that a lot. I'll wear that hoodie to represent for the WNBA, but it's sold out a couple of times just because of the impact of social media and the power of social media. You see NBA players wearing it. You see other sports figures wearing it, and it's like, wow, like that's a cool hoodie. I want one too. So that was great to see. The orange hoodie, the orange WNBA hoodie was great. I also ordered a lot of other stuff. I spent money during quarantine. I mean, my credit card got tired and I was spending money because I wanted to support women in their movement. I wanted to support my friends in their movement, of course, support my network because my network supports me. So that's the impact I think that women's sports has had, especially on social media. Without that, a lot of information would be miscued. And without that, a lot of information would not be out there. Whew. Okay, guys, that was a mouthful, and I've been on here for an hour, so that's it for today's show. I cannot. I am working on 45 minutes, guys. I really am. I'm gonna work better towards that. I really am. Teespring.com/store/unwrapped. Get your gear there. You saw my gear at the beginning of the show. I will show you my ladies first gear, which is now on teespring.com. Also, Count the Bucket gear is coming soon. When I get off this call, I have to talk with Perry and Lucas and Andrew so we can design our stuff, and I will shout that out on my show as well. Also, mybookie.ag, use the code USN100 to double your first deposit up to $1,000. I will bring Corey and Alex on, and we will talk betting, player props, everything you need to know about betting. It will be a full show dedicated to betting. Hopefully, Alex's work schedule will allow that. If not, I'll just have Corey on. Also, rxhemp.com. Use the code rxhemp/USN and get 10% off your order. You guys in Vegas, it's snowing now. Get you some CBD cream. You LA folks, get you some CBD cream. It's 50 degrees and you guys are going to lose your minds because it's 50 degrees and it's raining. So New York, the Northeast, the North, and the Midwest, we're used to it. We understand it. It gets 50 degrees outside. We put on slippers and tank tops because we think it's warm and it's sunny. So you guys get that for your sore, achy muscles. All right, guys, I'll see you guys next week. Next week it'll be a different show, different topics. I will touch on the WNBA free agency. I know that for sure. We're itching closer to the conference tournaments and March Madness and all of that. So February should be a great month. Because All-Star, I don't know when All-Star is going to be in March. I guess we'll talk more about All-Star voting. We will talk about the Super Bowl as well. I'm going to touch on the Super Bowl. I want to really talk about that matchup with Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. All right, guys, until next week, I'll see you guys later.